Hey everybody, Dan here at Herald Sq here at the south end of Midtown Manhattan. This station serves the BDFM and NRQW trains of the New York subway. Attached to this station is the differently named 33rd Street station. While it isn't uncommon for multiple differently named MTA stations to connect to each other, 33rd Street is a different station in more than just name. 33rd Street isn't just a different station, but a totally different service from a totally different agency. Let's ride New Jersey's PATH train. On this ride, we will explore the most interesting stations, route history, trains, and land use around this unique rail service, including a stop in Manhattan served only by New Jersey Transit, a prime example of an S-tier metro station, and a station that made me fear for my life. New York's famous subway system is operated by the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or the MTA. PATH, however, is ran by a totally different agency than the MTA, and uses different trains, different stations, different filming policies, different signage, different announcements, different maps, and most annoyingly, a different fare payment system. Keep in mind the MTA's new Omni cards will not work on PATH, and you will need a separate fare payment card, this tap card here, to ride PATH. Now, you may have noticed so far less than stellar footage, and that's for a reason. The following is not legal advice. Technically speaking, filming and photography is not allowed on PATH, so if anyone asks, I didn't film any of this footage. Sammy Marco did.
Hey, I don't break the Port Authority's really strict rules on that.
So please forgive any footage that may be short, shaky, jittery, JPEGs completely absent, a drawing, someone else's video, or worst, in portrait, as someone had to be rather creative in gathering footage. This restriction is unique to PATH, as virtually every other agency at least tolerates filming, as long as you don't get in the way. Whether or not filming PATH is actually a prosecutable offense is a bit of a gray zone, and it could be protected by the First Amendment, but just in case. 33rd Street is the northernmost terminus for PATH and actually has 4 platforms and 3 tracks. As mentioned before, this station is part of a larger complex, also being served by 8 MTA services and only being a short walk from 8 more, as well as Amtrak, NJ Transit, and LARR services at Penn Station. Having more than 2 tracks in these stations is actually quite common across PATH, as is a Spanish solution style boarding and departure. Heading south from 33rd Street, we go by 4 stations in Manhattan at 23rd, 14th, and 9th Streets. None of these stations are particularly interesting beyond their connection to the MTA system. And besides, this is a video on New Jersey, not New York. So you don't want to see New York stations. So let's go to our next station, which is in New York. Wait. Now, despite what I said about not being too worried about filming the Manhattan stations, Christopher Street's a special case, because Christopher Street is only served by PATH, it's not served by the MTA. Instead of just being a random hole in the sidewalk like most of the other stations are, we've got an actual building here. After Christopher Street, we go under the Hudson River through the uptown tubes towards Hoboken. But before we get to Hoboken, let's take a look at PATH's map. On weekdays, PATH runs 4 services, each named after the terminus stations. There are the Newark World Trade Center, Journal Square 33rd Street, Hoboken World Trade Center, and Hoboken 33rd Street. All of these services heavily interline, with only a brief part of the Newark World Trade Center line running independently. On weekends, nights, and holidays, PATH runs 2 lines. The Newark World Trade Center line is unchanged, but the other services combine into a Frankenstein mess known as Journal Square 33rd Street via Hoboken. Looking at this map may bring up an interesting question. What the hell is going on at Hoboken? Questions about the Hoboken Terminal are even more pressing when you see the station is a stub end with no through tracks for PATH. Before I answer that question though, let's take a look around Hoboken Terminal, which is far more than just a PATH station. So I'm here at the Hoboken Terminal of PATH. And I think I'm on the wrong side. I was trying to go to the side that's got all the other train services, but I think I got out. I don't know, I just followed where it said exit, expecting to be able to get through both ways. I'm not sure I can get back in without tapping into PATH, so we'll see what I can do. There's your PATH entrance. And over there, you can see NJ Transit welcomes you to Hoboken Terminal. It's all the way over there. I do suppose I can just walk outside the station. It is Hoboken, after all, one of the most walkable cities in the country. Of course, whenever I was saying it's one of the most walkable cities in America, I'm right on the very edge of the most walkable part, because around Hoboken Terminal is basically a massive rail yard, which is one of the least pedestrian-friendly land uses, even though it's counterintuitively one of the most useful for getting around as a pedestrian. Here we are. I should be able to film within the rest of the station without issue, because the filming ban is specifically only path, which is not ran by NJ Transit. New Jersey Transit, I don't think cares. Of course, everything's a disaster of construction. How am I even supposed to get in there? I don't know. This looks like a way to go somewhere. Yeah, this must be it. Got a path to path. We have parked New Jersey Transit trains. Hoboken serves as a major terminus for NJ Transit commuter trains, as well as a station for the Hudson Bergen Light Rail. Prior to the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad, the predecessor to PATH, trains from all over New Jersey terminated here at Hoboken Terminal, where ferries would take people into Manhattan. These days, you can still take a ferry from Hoboken Terminal, but now you can take PATH into Manhattan at a far greater frequency and speed, and the ferry service here is mostly obsolete. Now, let's figure out what's going on with this map. Hoboken was originally built as a terminus station and remains that way today. On weekdays, this isn't a problem, as the station is only used as a terminus for PATH services. However, on weekends, trains actually have to pull into the station, then the driver has to walk to the back of the train and then drive heading back out the other direction. This leads to several minutes of a layover at Hoboken. Interestingly, the 33rd Street Journal Square line on weekdays avoids this awkward situation at Hoboken by bypassing the station altogether, traveling between Christopher Street and Newport directly. Speaking of Newport, that's our next station, a station that I regret not checking out. The station itself is quite plain, with the exception of the interesting platform layout. 2 tracks with an island and a side platform only on one side is certainly a choice. No, I regret visiting the station because of the incredible land use around it. The area is home to several newly built residential towers, as well as the Newport Center Mall. Unfortunately, the mall doesn't appear to have a direct connection to PATH, but it really is quite close, and there's really only a short walking connection to the Hudson Bergen Light Rail here as well. Newport has been through several name changes over its life, including Erie, Pavonia, Pavonia Avenue, Pavonia Newport, and finally, just Newport. For now, we'll see if they change it again. After Newport, my train does a very strange maneuver. I'm on one of those weird weekend trains that's supposed to go like this: 33rd Street, Hoboken, Journal Square. So I was expecting my next stop to be Grove Street, but instead we went towards Exchange Place, a station we'll cover later. Much like Hoboken, the driver had to walk to the other side of the train and bring us towards our next stop at Grove Street. I didn't check out Grove Street, and it seems like a fairly average PATH station. It's bizarrely located right on the edge of Jersey City's dense development, making for an interesting scene. Our next stop is Journal Square, where I transfer to a Newark-bound train. We'll come back to explore Journal Square later, but for now we head towards Harrison. The stretch of track between Journal Square and Harrison is incredibly long, traveling 5 miles through a rail yard and industrial areas. While traveling this long section of track, let's explore the train itself. All trains on PATH are the PA4, built by Kawasaki between 2005 and 2009. These train cars are very similar to the MTA's R142A cars. The trains feel quite modern and are generally in good shape. Trains have modern LED wayfinding, clear audio announcements, and quite good heating and AC. Each car is 51 feet long and 9 feet wide, running on standard gauge rails. Each car has exclusively longitudinal seating 35 passengers. These trains running consists up to 8 cars long, but may be lengthened to 10 cars on the Newark World Trade Center line in the future. Harrison is PATH's newest station and serves Sports Illustrated Stadium. This is another station I did not visit, though it is interesting to see the station's 2 side platforms have the northeast corridor in the middle. finally, we arrive at Newark, a short half-mile jump across the Passaic River. It has transfers to Amtrak, including the Northeast Regional and Acela, New Jersey Transit, and the Newark Subway, which I will need to eventually explore as it's very interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't stick around long and didn't manage to record much. This wasn't due to a filming ban, it was the fact that Newark Penn Station is incredibly sketchy. I witnessed countless beggars, numerous piss-scented patrons, a domestic abuse squabble, and while I was attempting to get tickets to explore the subway, I was threatened by a passerby who fortunately kept walking and didn't actually do anything. It's for these reasons I decided to cut my losses on exploring the subway and made my way back to Path to go back to New York. It was a shame, really, because despite the abundance of antisocial behavior, Newark Penn Station is actually a quite good station. It's a bit of a labyrinth, but it serves as a very good multimodal connector. What I also found interesting is the fact that the platforms for Path are smack dab in the middle of the platforms for Amtrak and NJ Transit. And what makes this even weirder is departing Path trains use a sole platform on the upper level while departing trains use the lower level with all of the other services. As we make our way towards Journal Square, we need to answer a big question. What even is Path? It looks a lot like the New York City subway, so it's a metro, right? Well, not technically. Legally speaking, Path is a commuter rail service, like the LIRR or Metro North. A significant portion of its tracks are overseen by the Federal Railroad Administration, particularly the part running alongside the Northeast Corridor, and especially the part that Path actually shares with Amtrak and New Jersey Transit across the dock bridge near Newark Penn Station. This means Path has to follow FRA regulations and is classified as a mainline railroad. These extra regulations make Path 3 times more expensive to operate per mile than the New York City subway, which is ridiculous because the New York City subway is already ridiculously expensive. This also requires Path drivers to be a certified locomotive engineer and requires Path to follow stricter safety regulations than separated metro systems. The system also acts like a commuter rail in many ways, as its primary purpose is to bring passengers from the New Jersey suburbs to New York City. Travel within New Jersey is typically handled by the Newark LRT and the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail. So I was actually originally going to skip Journal Square Station. Upon doing some initial reading, I didn't see anything particularly interesting, but I'm glad I stopped. I think this is how you do a metro station. This is legitimately really good. And look, I'm not going to say that Journal Square is the most urban area. We're not exactly in Midtown Manhattan over here, but right over there is the metro station. There's a Duane Reade, Walgreens to the rest of us, Wendy's, there's a bunch of stuff over here. Like, it is, I'm not going to say a mall exactly, but very good business use. Taco Bell, Starbucks, everything like that. Honestly, the Duane Reade is a big deal. There's also a, looks like a small grocery store in there. I don't remember the name of it, but there's like a little grocery store type thing over there. Honestly, amazing land use integrated into a metro, or I guess technically commuter rail station. I think a lot of agencies can learn a lot from this station. At platform level, the station has 3 tracks and 4 platforms next to an adjacent rail yard. The station sees Newark World Trade Center trains stop here and continue on further, while 33rd Street Journal Square trains terminate here. I was also able to get good footage of this train yard and filmed it without restrictions, because I was standing on publicly accessible land. From here, we pass Grove Street before arriving at Exchange Place. Here at Exchange Place, the sun is starting to go down. It's still civil twilight, but working on wrapping stuff up. I found the way of the elevators out. I had read apparently there is a Wheaton-style bank of escalators somewhere. I found elevators, so far for me it's more of a Forest Glen and less of a Wheaton. I'm walking over to the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail Station right now. I'm not actually catching the train, just looking to see what kind of transfer it is here. I think I can hear the train from here actually. Maybe I'll catch one. There we go. The second most used light rail in America, right here. That's a really good transfer for not being like directly integrated. So there we go, Hudson-Bergen Light Rail. I'll make a video on it someday. Now we just want to find the escalators. I found the main entrance. Must have somehow found a weird side entrance down there. But I guess we'll see just how Wheaton these are. Apparently they've been called the Vertigo escalators. I'm from DC. Don't challenge me.
Okay, let's see just how vertigo these are. Really? That's it? These are your vertigo escalators? They got nice little neon lights though, so that's cool.
The reason why the station is so deep is because it is right at the western end of the downtown tubes, being right at the banks of the Hudson River. The tunnels need to go under the river at a deep elevation, requiring the station itself to be very deep. Passing back under the Hudson, we arrive at the new World Trade Center station. This station has a fascinating and tragic history, as it replaces the original World Trade Center station, which was destroyed during the September 11th attacks. I might make a video on this someday, as it's a really fascinating timeline to explore. This station has numerous tracks and platforms, serving as the terminus for Newark World Trade Center and Hoboken World Trade Center lines. This station is attached to the Oculus, which is definitely an architecture choice. It's possibly one of the most extreme examples of a modern building I've ever seen. It's basically a solid white design with high ceilings, questionable wayfinding, and it makes this building feel like some form of purgatory. Let's go over a brief, oversimplified history of PATH. Before there was PATH, there was the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad. And before the H&M, there were numerous railroad lines across New Jersey terminating their services on the west side of the Hudson River, relying on ferries to bring passengers into Manhattan. A plan was put into place to build the H&M, with 2 sets of tunnels under the Hudson River. After decades of slow, intermittent construction of the uptown tubes, H&M service into Manhattan started in 1908. In 1911, service started on the downtown tubes connecting Manhattan and Newark. The system was built out throughout the next few years, but eventually its popularity started to decline. The H&M eventually filed for bankruptcy and was taken over by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in 1962, changing the system from H&M into PATH, which stands for Port Authority Trans-Hudson. PATH continued to modernize and update their system and oversaw the major system disruptions after the September 11th World Trade Center attacks, and oversaw the rebuilding of the World Trade Center station. And if any of this information was wrong, it is sure to be corrected by Avery the Cuban American in the comments section. PATH is definitely a New Jersey transit system, that's for sure. It almost feels like a good sister system to PATCO, both feeling more modern than the systems in their nearby larger cities, and both being run by agencies other than NJT, with separate fares from nearby services. It serves as a crucial link for North Jersey, and apparently also part of Manhattan. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you want to see more, there's a little red button for that down there somewhere. See you in the next one.